We were listening to these components. I convinced Kurt we should do our first system review.
I'm tired, but you know what? It makes sense. Both in their literature, they say, what do they say? See, I told you I'm tired. They basically said that they wanted to make it more accessible. Although these two are not the same company, we thought they would do a favor because of this philosophy that they were going for, and we'll put them together and see how it sounds as a system.
Welcome back to Hi-Fi.
For the second time today.
I'm Marcos, this is Kurt, and today we're doing our first system review. The Cambridge AXA35 with the Dali Spektor 2s. Instead of doing our usual specs look and feel for the individual products, we actually shot a video on the Cambridge AXA35 and the Dali Spektor 2s. Check those out below.
When we usually do our reviews, we like to do it with our baseline equipment, which is usually quite in the higher end price category. But we just always want to make sure to have as much controlled variables as possible. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to compare it with the same songs, however they're as the system, and maybe see the differences of what we're getting, between what we use as our reference gear and this as a whole.
Overall, this combo at a price around $1,000 Canadian performed really nicely. I was actually pretty surprised on how well it did. When it came to the mids and highs, I felt they were pretty nicely detailed and really no complaints there. When it came to the bass though, I do wish it had a little bit more detail and punch.
Which is kind of, again, expected in that size and that power output too. The overall sound, when I keep in mind the price, so you don't get me back on this one, I think it's actually pretty exceptional. When you take a look at audio and kind of the history, when you're taking a look at you have those old Iowa mini systems or Sony mini system in the back. I remember you can pay $1,000 for that. It will come nowhere near as close as the sound quality of this will. Really good to see that both Cambridge Audio and Dali were able to produce a really good sound signature at that price range.
We performed our classic dB volume test on this combo with the AXA35 and the Dali Spektor 2s. Around 60 decibels, I found it pretty nice. It had a really nice presentation. I still heard all of the mid-range and highs nice and clearly. When it came to the bass, it was a little bit less than I'd like, but I do like my bass.
At the higher frequencies, it still was really well composed as long as it was kept under 85 decibels. Anything below that, the bass is still really well controlled at that point. Nice thing is the speakers are not that hard to drive, so everything was still quite together at that volume range. When we're starting to push it though, I would say once you break into that 86 going to 88, you can really tell that there's quite a bit of distortion at that point. But again, that's the limitation of just this amplifier size and the natural physical size of the speaker itself. Also to note that there's a record out, which you can use for a subwoofer, but there's no actual pre-out or sub-out. So if you're looking for that club-like levels, that kind of volume level, then this system probably won't suit you.
We came to listening to this little system. We're going to be listening to the same tracks we listened to before in our previous videos. Usually when we review products, we do use some pretty high-end equipment because we really want to see the true potential of each piece we review.
And also we want to just keep always the variables controlled. Because we're doing this one a little bit different as a package system, that's why I think it's a good idea to use the same music and just hear overall what this is going to do as a system.
So the 2 tracks we listened to, the Skull Eclipses, Angels Don't Mind. I found as a system, this controlled the bass quite nicely. Not quite as much impact as we heard before, but still at this price point, I was pretty taken aback. It still had really nice detail, and I could hear all the instruments playing on the right and left and around the stage as well.
When thinking of when we had it hooked up to the previous equipment, when I was looking at one things that you can still clearly hear is that little clickly thing that I was mentioning about. Still don't know what that thing is called, but yeah, that was supposed to be very defined and right in front of the stage, and it still gave me that presence here. Maybe not as much as the other one, but still, it still gave you that feel that feel, that sound stage how they mixed it. Another factor too is the vocals. The main difference here is still portrayed everything really well in the imaging. The only thing what I did notice though, it was supposed to sound a lot deeper, and it got some of that background sound effects that everything seems pushed a little bit further. And maybe I think that's partly to do with the amplifier, like when we talked about before, that measurement. There's a little bit more sparkle or stuff added in that certain frequency range that I discussed in the Cambridge Audio review.
The second song we listened to, Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald, Dream a Little Dream of Me. It still gave me this beautiful image of them singing on the stage and the instruments pushed way back. I still had that feeling that I was kind of transported into a late night New Orleans club. Music brings you back to a place. It also brings back emotion. This didn't sound as perfect as what we had it hooked up, but that's what almost made it sound better. Sometimes when you're listening is that maybe not that perfect, that almost that more perfect balance kind of sound. In songs like these, sometimes it almost just sounds better when it's not so perfect. That's why sometimes it shows you, just because you got some stuff that's really, quite higher end that might be hooked up. It still portrays a sound that really you may like, and especially depending on musical preferences. We really recommend this system for somebody in a small to medium space who's looking for a nice, simple, clean system. The thing I love about this system as well, especially the Cambridge, the fact that it features a phono stage so you can add a turntable to it, that just, to me, is the perfect combo.
So who is this for? This is for the person that I really recommend for that person that just wants to try maybe the next level of what they might be used to, as opposed to just hooking up, your regular Bluetooth speaker. Even though I wish this had Bluetooth, so remember you still have to add the source to it. But what I like is that it can get people really into just a higher quality reproduction of sound. For anybody out there that just wants to just try it out for the first time, high recommendation to see maybe what this kind of whole hi-fi audio industry is about.
At this price point, I really find this system can really bring a lot more life to your music. Thanks for watching our video today on our first system review of the Cambridge AXA35 and the Dali Spektor 2s. If you want to see another system review, or if you have any recommendations, let us know in the comments. Subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.